As a reminder of where we have come from before here, we are just making space, starting something new, any type of habit change. I love the analogy of if you go to a doctor for a problem with a knee, they're going to do an MRI and a CAT scan and probably an ultrasound, can do exploratory surgery. But with our brains and the way that we think and the way that we operate in life, we're 95% unconscious. The 5% that is conscious is completely dependent upon how often we do metacognition. Some people have even less than 5%. The more that we can do metacognition, the more we can have an effect on our neuroplasticity and do more habit change, addiction recovery, those kind of things. So with that, it's just important to know that we have got to do journaling. When we are growing, we make space. So if you are intentional about in the morning, you are looking at your calendar, you're only going to focus on today. If there's something that comes up as you're considering your day, put it on your calendar, put it in your notebook, have a space where you can put it in the future, put a reminder, and then we're just looking at today, prioritizing the day. As you go about the day, reflect as often as you can. If you especially are feeling dysregulated or if there's anything going on that is not happy, content, or even just neutral, if something's coming up, as much as you can journal about it, especially a T-chart. On the left-hand side, what are you powerless over? On the right-hand side, how does that make your life unmanageable, or how do you react, or anything like that? And at the end of the day, reflect on your day and don't forget to celebrate. That's really important. And when you're looking back at the day, even if you made mistakes, like, we're not taking time to shame ourselves or guilt trip or anything. We are genuinely trying to just reflect on our day with purpose. So step two, this is one of my favorite moments in life was when I started doing step two, and I learned about I call it my little HPs, my higher powers. At the time, I had a disconnect from anything with God or universe or creativity or spirituality or anything. I was living in anxiety and depression. I have clinical anxiety and depression. I later found out that my amygdala was constantly flooding my body with hormones. I was in fight or flight. There's way more F's, as we've talked about before. But my life was in constant stress. And the cool thing about the little HPs are we're looking for tangible things that you can feel, touch, see, focus on. What can we turn to get us dialed back into the present? So when my brain starts thinking about 3 years ago when I stole something or said something to someone or made a negative impact, or if tomorrow I'm worried about what someone might say about something that I did, or anything, what is it that I can turn to get me back to right now? So my journal, or am I calling a friend, or am I going for a walk, or some people do great with sunlight or medication or anything. So in this instance, I had gotten told that I needed to go to the principal's office about a letter, which I had no idea what he was talking about, and it wasn't until the next morning. And he wasn't there that day, so I was feeling stressed. He didn't respond to my question, and so I journaled about it, and that did help. Got me back to the present. I was working with my students, and then it came up again in my head, so I went down to a friend of mine who was down my hallway and talked with her, and then that helped for a little bit. And I also went for a walk outside. Before I did that, I forgot to mention this, I went down the path of what am I doing? I was overthinking the consequences. What if I get fired? What if I did something wrong? Are people thinking badly about me? My brain was going in all sorts of tangents. I was overeating. I started to avoid people. I could tell that I was going into escapism behaviors, which is why I was like, nope, not going to do it. And I started turning to other things. So I also noticed that I went for a walk in outside of my classroom, and I got more dysregulated. Like I felt more frustrated and snappy. So I wrote it down and just put an X through it. I did start to text some people, and I was just even feeling more frustrated, especially because I texted for like maybe a minute or two, and then I ended up going into Facebook scrolling, which made it awful. And then during my break, I went to 6 Phases meditation, which is a meditative practice that I really like. It starts off with thinking about something that makes you smile. I always think about Liam and Connor and their laughter, and then it goes through a process of even just thinking about your room and the places around you, and just pouring out love, and then a forgiveness process. And yeah, it's just a really beautiful way to just connect with the world around me and come back to the present. So this is step 2. You're hopefully making as many of these T-charts as possible. The more times that you engage, and again, you're not doing it to please anyone or to do anything outside of your own brain, the more that you can do that is specific to you, the more you will benefit. And then as you see when we get to step 3, the more that you can see what is working in your life and what isn't working. You can't have my specific things. Like when I talk about walk at school, there's specific things about why later on when I think about walks at school that comes up numerous times, and why I get more frustrated. I ended up learning about myself because I wrote it down and considered why. You need to be thinking about your own specific responses physiologically in your brain. The more you can write down, the better. And I look forward to seeing you at step 3.